My name is Kara. We're going to start with some breath work and then move into some poses. So find your comfortable seat on your mat. If you would prefer to start in a position more where you're seated against a wall, against a pillow, even seated like sometimes I've done breath work in my own bed, just sitting against a wall with some pillows, really supported and comfortable. And wherever you're seated, just make sure you're sitting up really tall in your top half. That is the portion of your body, of course, where most of the breathing happens. Make sure we are sitting up tall from your hips up, whatever seat you're in. If you are seated on your mat, we can maybe take a block or a thick book if you have something like that and put it underneath you. And I find that that gives me a lot more space to really lift up in your lungs and maybe even go towards more of like a lotus pose with your legs. So we're gonna go ahead and find like a really tall position, sit up, and start to just notice your breathing. So notice your own natural pattern and how you pull the air in, how you release the air. Don't try to do anything to change it, just observe that pattern. So we're starting to tune in with your breath a little here, whatever that means to you. And with your hands, you can have them resting on your knees. You can lift your palms open towards the sky if you prefer to just have your hands hanging out at your sides. Loose shoulders, that's all fine too. Just continue to breathe and notice how you're breathing. Is your inhale easier than your exhale? Or shorter? Is one shorter than the other? That's something else to notice. And again, no judgment, not trying to change your breath, just tuning in with your own natural breathing pattern. And then we're going to begin to work with that a little bit by maybe trying to deepen the inhale. As you pull your breath in, try to find what's called your thoracic breathing area. The thoracic part of your lungs. This is the middle of your spine or the middle of your lungs. Maybe take a hand and put it right over the lower ribs. And as you inhale, try to feel your ribs pressing out against your hand. And then exhale, and the ribs press away from the hand. But especially as we exhale, make sure that your spine stays up tall. So you may need to engage your core muscles, engage some of the muscles in your hips, even to keep that going. One hand on your rib cage, taking slow, deep inhales and long, cleansing exhales. Maybe you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just try and see if you can start to get those breaths to go a little deeper down into your belly each time. And then we're going to move into something called the ocean breath, or ujjayi breath is the Sanskrit word, ujjayi. The ocean breath is very aptly named. It mimics the sound of the ocean. It can be very calming for that alone. I know I myself find the sound of the ocean to be very soothing. But it's also a wonderful way of just taking in really slow, controlled inhales and then long, relaxed exhales. And as you do that, maybe breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, try and imagine the inhale as the waves pulling away from the shore. And as you exhale, the tide gently coming back towards the shore. So you inhale, slow, And exhale. And the waves coming back. And you'll notice that slight pause at the top of your inhale. Think of that as the very top of the wave. The very top of the wave pulling away from the shore and then coming back and crashing it. Deep breath in. And exhale. And inhaling. Exhaling. And in. Take this at your own pace a few times. And again, just start to notice how it works for you, and how it feels for you. Keeping the spine long with every exhale so that you're keeping those lungs extended up tall with the exhale. And we'll take 2 more breaths like this, breathing in through the nose. Out through the mouth if you can. If allergies or something are a factor, breathing all the way through your mouth is totally fine. 1 more together, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Then go ahead and breathe normally for a few seconds. Maybe relax and shrug your shoulders around a little bit. Can maybe fold over a bit and then sit back up tall, just letting your body move around naturally a little bit, whatever it wants to do. That ocean breath or Ujjayi breath, it's so simple, but so good for waking up your breathing, calming, and really just coming back to the center of your breath for a few moments. And it's so easy to do, you can do it really anywhere. And it's a little bit innocuous, unlike some breathing techniques that would be weird to do in public. It's really easy to just quietly take a few slow inhales and exhales and imagine that ocean breathing. So keep that one with you anytime you need to reconnect with your breath. This next one, again, it's really good for reconnecting with the breath, one of my favorite. I'm not 100% sure what you would call this breathing technique, but the idea is we breathe out first, releasing all the air in your lungs. Hold the lungs empty for just a couple of seconds, and then we lean forward and relax. And so as you lean forward and relax, after those couple seconds of having your lungs empty, what will happen usually is it will cause you to relax into your inhale, and then gravity will help pull your belly down. So again, exhaling pretty much all the air out of your body, and we'll hold that empty lungs for like 4 seconds or so, and then lean forward and relax. So let's just come back to your breath before we get into that, wherever you're sitting. If you have your legs crossed, this would be a great time to maybe like pick your knees up for a second and then switch the way they're crossed. Keep some balance in those legs. And then we'll sit up nice and tall in your seat again. Come back to your breathing. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. Then inhale. This time try and really empty your lungs out. So every corner of those lungs, just let the air out. We'll hold them empty for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lean forward and relax. And again, let the gravity naturally pull your belly down and pull the air into your belly as you lean forward. So we're going to try that a couple more times together. Sit up tall, breathe in. Exhale all the air for 4, 3, 2, 1. Lean forward. And one more time, we'll do that. Deep inhale. Exhale all the air. Holding it this time for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Forward and breathe in. Awesome. All right, and then again, go back to breathing normally. Maybe just try to take nice slow breaths at your own pace and see if you can notice if your breathing has changed at all since the beginning, since you have been paying a little bit more attention to it. And again, no judgment and not trying to change the breath or alter it or make it better in any way, just observing and appreciating how that breath works for you. And let's go ahead and take a few more of those ocean breaths, maybe this time reaching up with your hands as you inhale. And then letting the arms come down and sort of sweep in front of you as you exhale. Reaching in, breathing up. Reaching up, breathing in rather. Although reaching in is a nice way to think of it too. Reaching inward and then coming back down with the arms, exhale. One more, breathe in, reach up. Try and extend your spine upwards towards the sky, crown of the head reaching towards the top of the room. And then exhale, relax your arms down to your sides. All right, and then one more breathing practice before we move into our poses for today. So this one is called, typically referred to as a lion's breath in yoga. And the reason for that name is the ending of the breath. You stick your tongue out and it's very reminiscent of like a lion panting or even a dog panting, kind of like exhaling and doing and it looks very funny. It is a very kind of silly looking exercise. It's also a breathing exercise that is often associated with the goddess Kali. And she was the goddess of creation and destruction. So the idea is creation and then destruction in order to create new things. So with the breath, I often think of it as you're breathing in and releasing everything that you don't need so that you can make space to create new things. So maybe you can keep that in mind a little bit as we move into this breath. We're going to basically breathe in, nice, slow, relaxed breath in, trying to, again, find that big expansion in your lungs. So if you want to keep a hand on your belly here, that's a fantastic way to tune in with the breath. So we'll take a big inhale, and for the lion's breath, all we're going to do is as you exhale, stick out your tongue, relax the jaw, release everything you don't need, and go. So it makes a bit of an audible ha, or almost like a bit of a growling sound in the back of your throat sometimes as you release the air. But really dig into that release and letting it all go. This is a great one to just sit alone and take some deep breaths and then let it out. So take a deep breath in. We'll do this a few times together. And out, stick your tongue out. And again, breathing in. Nice and slow on the exhale. Sit up tall. Inhale. Stay tall as you exhale. We'll do a few more of these at your own pace. Just notice how that inhale feels and how the exhale feels. And as you're exhaling, really try to release something, whether that be something that is stress or something you're holding, some tension in your jaw or your face. Let's take one last deep breath in through the nose. Gather up all that stuff you want to get out. And exhale. And then go ahead and relax. Take a few quiet breaths to yourself. Come back to just observing your breath. Observation seems like a very simple idea, but when we take time to observe ourselves, it can be really powerful. Just to really truly take time and sit and see. So in these last few breaths, as we come to the end of the breathing portion today, observe yourself without judgment, without trying to change, and appreciate what that breath does for you. And then slowly we're just going to start to bring in a little bit of movement with some neck rolls. And with our neck rolls, we're just going side and then forward and to the other side. So we're not going to actually roll to the back of your neck because that can sometimes be a little bit of an uncomfortable position and can easily get uncomfortable on the neck. So we're going to go slowly, taking one ear to your right shoulder. And if you want to extend the legs here, you're totally welcome to. I've had them crossed for a bit if you had them crossed. And then we're going to roll forward, maybe exhale as you roll your neck forward. Inhale as we come to the other side. And you're just dropping the ear towards your shoulder, so there's no need for the two to come together. Just breathing in and exhaling. Rolling back the other way to the other shoulder. We're going to start to really connect all those breathing ideas now to our movement. Exhale, roll forward, stay sitting tall. This might feel like some stretch in the back of the neck, so really breathe into that. And then one more time, rolling back forward and then over to the right. Sit up tall. And then nice relaxed neck, roll forward and left ear to the left shoulder. Then finally rolling back to center. Slowly can lift the head. Take a deep breath in. And we're going to come onto your yoga mat. So if you were sitting in a chair or off in a bed or against the wall, like we talked about earlier, come onto wherever your space is that you practice yoga. If you need to grab a sip of water, please do that. I would say that the breath is definitely the life force, but water is a huge part of our life force as well. So we're going to start today coming into a child's pose. And basically, if you had your legs crossed, you can come forward all the way through, lift the hips, uncross your legs and then just send your hips back. If you were just coming down to the mat, you can just come down into a child's pose. So let your hips be nice and heavy on the heels here. We're gonna, this time in child's pose today, see if you can bring your forehead to the mat and take some forehead rolls kind of side to side. So just resting your forehead, letting the neck roll side to side a little bit. Relax your forearms and your hands to the mat. Relax your upper body against your thighs. Just take some deep breaths into the belly here. Even though we're folded over in child's pose, we should still be able to find a good amount of breath in that belly area as we were doing earlier. So let's make sure that we're paying a little bit of attention to that. I'm just starting here today to begin to connect your breath with your body a little bit. And on your next inhale, come up into a nice relaxed tabletop pose. So you can turn your hands outward a little bit if that feels good to you, keeping your hands loosely under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Neutral spine here. So in tabletop position, there's no need to have a straight spine. There's not really a lot of straight bones in the human body. So really it's more of a neutral spine, what feels comfortable for your back. So let's find that and really start to engage the muscles in your palms, in your legs, hips, glutes, even in the tops of the feet. You can press your tops of the feet into the mat to engage the thighs. And we're going to take a few cat-cows here. So this is really a good way to bring that breathing practice into our movement. Basically, a cat-cow is when you breathe in, we're going to drop the belly like a cow. And as we breathe out, we arch the back, lift the belly, lift the low ribs, tuck all of that in towards the spine as we exhale. So inhale, dropping the belly, pressing into the mat. You can really think too of pressing up from the mat here with your feet, your hands, your legs pressed up and away from the mat. And then inhale. Exhaling, arching the back. Inhaling. Let's go through this a few times on your own, at your own pace, just syncing up that cat-cow with the breath. And from here, we'll be moving into a few standing sequences. So we're taking this cat-cow, these first few low poses as a nice little warm-up to move up. So from our cat-cow, let's go ahead and come back to your neutral spine. Take a deep inhale here. Try to create some space between your shoulders and in your chest. So pulling your chest through your shoulders a little bit can help this. Let the neck be long. Curl the toes underneath your feet and then go ahead and start to slowly lift the hips off the mat, knees off the mat, hips up and back into a downward dog. So in downward dog, just let your heels be heavy here. Nice heavy heels. And if you want to maybe pedal your feet out a little bit, dropping one heel and then lifting the other, slowly alternating. Make sure we stay connected to your breath and keep the shoulders nice and relaxed so they're tracking down the spine and wrapping around your spine in the way that feels good. Press into your knuckles and the balls of your hands to support the wrists. Keep your elbows and your knees slightly bent though. And then as we inhale, we're just going to take a deep breath in, extend your right leg up and back towards the back of your mat, sinking into the left leg. And then slowly we're going to come forward with the right knee, all the way forward with the knee towards the nose. And then exhaling, let's plant that right foot between your hands. And immediately come up slowly with a breath in for Warrior One. So we're lifting up from the hips, breathing slowly, just inch by inch, coming up for our first standing pose in Warrior One. So in this particular position, we should have your back leg here at about a 45-degree angle. The front toes are facing towards the front of the mat. You can have your hands reaching up towards the sky, or if you prefer to keep your hands on your hips, that's totally fine too. Keep your front knee bent, and maybe try and drop that right hip so that you're keeping your hips working towards being level here. And then we're going to take a couple deep breaths here in Warrior One. Reach the hands up if that's what feels good to you. And then on your next exhale, open up to your left side, bringing the hands to shoulder level, pressing both feet into the mat. Remember what we talked about earlier, lifting up from the mat. So wherever your feet are, think of lifting up from the earth with those feet and the legs and the hips. Your hips, legs, all of that should be in a nice sort of a line parallel with each other here on the mat. And settle into your Warrior Two here. Take some deep breaths. Come back to that low belly breathing. See how that helps you here. And if you do have blocks that you like to use, this would be a great time to grab one of those and just bring it over towards maybe the inside of the front of your leg. Now, this is a completely optional pose. If you want to just hang out in Warrior Two, you can hang out in Warrior Two, or maybe take some like side bends where you're reaching up and over with the front hand towards the back of your mat and then rotating back through Warrior Two and then coming through extended side angle and then coming back up. So that's a great alternative, or you're welcome to come into a little bit of a balancing pose if that sounds like fun today for you. So we're gonna take a deep breath in wherever you're at. Keep those hands nice and lifted, and then just start to kind of tip towards the front of your mat. We're gonna start to come towards an extended side angle pose where we would have your arm here. And then if you want to stick to just rotating through this and reverse warrior, which is this one, when you have your hand reaching back, you can start to slowly rotate through those, matching it up with your breath. Or from our extended side angle, maybe bring your hand down to your block and start to shift your weight forward onto your front leg. Just stabilizing yourself with that block, bringing it to wherever feels comfortable, and then whenever you're ready, come up onto your tiptoes of the back leg and slowly lift that up for half moon. Bring that block wherever feels comfortable for you. You may need to be a little bit farther out in front of your front leg to get a good balance here. And if you would like to hold this pose for a few minutes, or a few seconds rather, it's a great strengthening pose in the leg. If you lose your balance, you're welcome to come back down onto the mat, or just see if you can maybe pop back up into it. Grounding through the right leg, right knee should be bent. And then very slowly and with control, let's go ahead and bend the right knee till the back leg comes back down onto the mat. Come back up more into your extended side angle. Let's come back up through Warrior Two here. And all together, let's take one reverse warrior. If you've been moving through this, that's totally great. This is one of my favorite flows to do, is to move through reverse warrior. and then extended side angle. One more time, reaching towards the front of your mat here with the front arm. Maybe this time you actually pull that arm all the way forward, extending the line from your left ankle all the way to your left fingers. Let's inhale, come back up into Warrior Two. And then exhale, kind of cartwheel your hands, rotate your body towards the front leg. If you have a block, move that out of the way. Kind of bring your fingertips to the mat and go ahead and both toes pointing towards the front of the mat. Let's come back with the right foot to meet the back foot. Come back into downward dog. So here our hips are high. Whew. After that standing pose, you might want to pedal your legs out, stretch that foot that was supporting you. And then we're going to repeat that on the other side. So we'll go ahead and lift the left leg, grounding through the right heel, keeping the hips square. Deep breath in. Exhale, bring the knee forward towards your nose. And then when your knee finally gets all the way up here, crunch it up for just a second. And then let's bring your foot in between your palms, fingertips to the mat. Drop that back heel so your back foot's at a 45-degree angle. And then we're going to slowly, an inch at a time, breathe in as you come up into Warrior One. Whew, all right. And again here, if you want to keep your hands on your waist, if you feel like you need to just let your shoulders rest and let your arms hang for a little bit, that's totally fine. These warrior poses are a workout for the legs, but they're also a lot of workout for the shoulders when we're holding our shoulders up here. And then slowly we're going to go ahead and open up into Warrior Two here. So we get our Warrior Two. Nice and stable. Take a few deep breaths. Inhaling as you maybe stand up a little taller, extending from your hips. Exhaling as you ground into your feet and lift up from the earth. And then we'll move into your choice here today. You can start to bring some flow in with that extended side angle, reaching up or maybe reaching all the way forward towards the front of your mat. And then slowly moving all the way up through Warrior Two and back into Reverse Warrior. And then if you would like, we can come down onto your block. Start to pick up those back toes. Maybe move your block out in front of your foot a bit more. Leaning on the front leg, and then finally lifting that back leg, half moon pose. Whew. And if balance feels a little bit tough for you today, that is totally fine. Bend into the left leg rather, the one that you're grounding into. That will definitely help support you. Breathe into your belly. And if you're cycling through Reverse Warrior and extended side angle, just keep that going at a nice slow pace until we meet back together there. If you're in half moon, slowly come back, dropping the back leg with control until you reach the mat. And then bring everything back towards the center of your mat, distributing your weight evenly again, coming up into Warrior One. Then one time together, we'll all flip that front hand, reach up and over. Reverse Warrior. Breathe in deep. Exhale as we come back up into Warrior Two. Then we'll cartwheel those hands forward towards the front of your mat. Kind of frame that front foot, turning the toes to the front of the mat, and then bringing left foot back to meet the right. We'll come into a downward dog just for a second, but we're going to go ahead and walk the feet slowly forward towards the hands. Eventually, coming into a forward fold. And then just take a nice deep breath in, slowly rolling all the way up. We'll come into mountain pose. So in mountain pose, one thing to really keep in mind is where your hands are. If you can keep your palms open in the same direction your eyes are looking, that really helps to wrap your shoulder blades around your spine. If we start to turn the palms backwards, we see the shoulder blades come out and a little bit of extension here. And then if we are bringing the palms forward, or even with the palms at the side, it's a lot easier to keep the shoulders wrapped comfortably. So keeping that in mind, maybe face your palms towards the front. We're just going to do a nice, gentle little stretch here in our mountain pose. So what we're going to do is take one foot behind the other in mountain. So I'm starting by grounding through my left foot and bringing my right foot slowly controlled behind my other foot, just to kind of step and get a little bit of a cross in my legs here. And then slowly let's inhale, reach the arms up. And you're just going to grab one wrist. So I'm grabbing my left wrist with my right hand. Gently kind of grabbing that wrist and then just tugging over to one side. Inhale. We don't want to fully bend, like we don't want to just collapse over to the side. It should be an extension upwards. And then just going over to the side slightly. Extending and really breathing into the left side of your body. Exhale and come back to center. Maybe open the arms up again. Switch wrists, so you're grabbing the opposite wrist with the opposite hand here. Then reaching up nice and tall. Take that deep breath and then extend really tall. And then just slightly we're going to bend over to the side. Breathing into the right side body and pressing into the ground at those feet. Remember, we're pressing up and away from the earth. So you can keep your knees slightly bent here too. And go ahead and release the hands. Arms wide. We're going to take a soft forward fold here. So grounding into the feet. Keep your knees bent. Fold forward from the waist. Exhaling. And fold forward with your legs crossed. So you can just let the arms hang here. Breathing and coming back to that nice strong breath foundation that we built earlier. And then slowly, let's lift up halfway. Extend the crown of your head towards the front of your room so your spine stays nice and neutral. Release back to the earth on an exhale. And then inhaling, let's come all the way back up. And relaxed, let's uncross those legs, maybe roll the ankles out one at a time, nice and slow. Standing on one foot and then the other, and we're going to kind of repeat that on the opposite side. So we will go ahead and bring both feet to the mat. This time I'll be grounding into the mat with my right foot and bringing my left foot behind. So I'm just stepping behind and crossing my feet here. And then I'll bring my arms up. Nice big inhale. Grabbing one wrist. Inhale and then lean over to the left side this time maybe. Extending up tall through your spine. Just getting a slight lean to the side. And then releasing the hands, switching your wrist grip. So grab the opposite wrist, reach up tall, and slowly lean. Just take one big breath here, breathing into the left side body. Notice all the space you have there to breathe as well. As we exhale, come back to the center. Drop the arms. Release your feet. Oh, sorry, actually keep the feet crossed. We're going to do our forward fold with the feet crossed here again. And then we'll reach our hands all the way up one last time. Big breath. And we'll slowly hinge forward from the waist until you have your forward fold. Wherever your fingertips are here, they can be hanging out in the air, on the earth, whatever. Just make sure you're relaxing your shoulders and your neck and letting everything release. Keeping a soft bend in the knees. Let's go ahead and inhale and lift up halfway. So you keep your spine long and keep the crown of your head working towards the front of the room. Exhale and drop back down. And then inhale slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, inch by inch, lift your spine all the way back up. And then slowly lift your head and your neck and let your gaze come back up. Release those feet, and again, you can roll the ankles out, maybe march the feet or pedal the feet out a little bit here. And we're going to move into our final poses, which will move kind of back down towards the ground here. So slowing down from here on out, let's come back to face like whatever you were doing, kind of face long ways on your mat, so we can move into these poses and have plenty of room. We'll just take a deep breath in, reach up, exhale and fold slowly into that forward fold again, using your breath to help you travel. And then bending the knees till your belly comes down to the tops of your feet. We're going to walk the hands forward, coming into first downward dog just for a second, and then breathing in. Slowly exhale and shift forward until your knees come down towards the mat. Drop the knees to the mat. And we're going to come into a puppy dog pose. So in puppy dog pose, you bring your forearms to the mat here. And so sort of like child's pose, right? But instead of leaning all the way back on our hips, we're going to keep the hips up, keep the toes curled, pressing into the earth with your hands and your forearms. Just drop the head, relax the shoulders, hang out here for a few breaths. And make sure you keep your back nice and neutral. Don't let the lower spine collapse. And if you tuck your low ribs in, that will help support the lower spine a bit. As well as if you're taking those big, deep belly breaths, that will also support the spine. Breathing in here in your puppy dog pose, just let the shoulders really kind of relax and disengage. Mostly supporting yourself with the core and the strong legs here. Maybe pressing into the hands a bit as well. And then slowly, let's take one big inhale together. Exhale, send the hips backwards. Extend the toes and come back into your child's pose. So the heels and the hips meet again, back where we started our practice today. And just, again, you can extend the arms long in child's pose. If you'd like to get a little bit of counteraction to that, you can bring the hands back, let the shoulders relax. Or in child's pose, maybe you can get a little more space between your legs and drop down to the mat here. Forehead to the mat. Just take some nice deep breaths in your child's pose. Inhaling slow, like the ocean pulling away from the shore. And exhaling, like the waves returning. And then from your child's pose, let's go ahead and just kind of bring the knees together if you have them apart. Start to slowly roll onto one side and then come all the way through onto your back. Really nice and slow here though. Just breathing into your movements. And finally, we're gonna lay on your back. Let the hips be heavy, shoulders be heavy. And bring your knees up into the air. About a 90-degree angle if you want. And then we're just gonna do some like slow circles with the knees. Breathing in, feeling your belly come up. And then the belly drops down. But let your hips stay heavy as you do this. So your hips stay pressing against the mat. You rotate those knees. And then maybe switch directions. So you switch your knees the other way. Slow circles. Deep breath in. And out. Inhale. Exhale. And then one time, let's just hug your knees into your chest. Maybe bring your head towards your knees. Give yourself a big squeeze. And then release everything slowly down to the mat. Coming in towards your Shavasana pose. So in Shavasana, you're welcome to keep your arms out to the sides. Another good option is to have the arms up. And that can help keep the shoulders nice and relaxed down on the mat. Or if you want to come back to the connection with your breath today, something really great to try is to bring one hand towards the chest, maybe around where the collarbone is, and one hand onto your low ribs where we talked about earlier. And just start to connect with that low rib breathing, your thoracic breathing here. Whatever your version of Shavasana is, let's start to find your final resting pose for our session today. You can extend the legs, keep the legs up and bent, put a pillow under your knees, whatever you like. We're going to remain here for just a few minutes, and then I'll slowly bring us out of Shavasana. So feel free to let your eyes get heavy. Come towards closed if you like. Feel free to keep your eyes closed as we finish out the session today. I'm just going to do some light sound and offer a little bit of that to end the session. So you're welcome to remain wherever you are. And if I do any chanting or singing during this, the words I will be using are Om Shanti Ananda. Om for connection to all things. Shanti is peace. Ananda, bliss. Connection, peace, and bliss. Om Shanti Ananda. Wherever you might be, you're still in a resting pose. Feel free to stay there as long as you like. Connecting with your breath in this moment and in all moments after this. It's a very quick way to bring yourself back into yourself, into the moment, into existing just as you are right now. I hope you can come back to that anytime you need it with one of the breath techniques today that we talked about. If anybody has any questions about the techniques, feel free to ask me after we finish or send me a message wherever, and I'm happy to answer any questions or offer some breathing techniques if you feel you need them. Thank you all so much for joining today. I wish you peace, bliss, and connection. Om Shanti Ananda.